Jonathan Majors' career was about to take off. And then out of nowhere came allegations from a former girlfriend of domestic violence. Suddenly his career was sidetracked. Some say it's over. What I want to do, folks, is I want to take a look at a Rolling Stones article that some people are referencing when they talk about this story. We got some people saying that Jonathan Majors has been treated too harshly, that people were rushing to condemn him. And then we got others saying, well, Jonathan Majors, you're being too kind to him. You're giving him a pass. What about women? Jonathan Majors' trial hasn't even started yet. So we don't really know the evidence that will be presented by the prosecution or all the evidence by the defense. August 3rd, the trial starts. Then we'll see more. What we do know is that Grace Jabari, his former girlfriend, those charges of domestic violence are what the charges are about. But as we unpack the Rolling Stone article, I'll be commenting, and I'll be looking for you to comment as well, and hope this causes a conversation. The title of the article from Rolling Stone that just came out June 29th is Jonathan Majors, Extreme Abuse, allegedly goes back nearly a decade. This is an article by Cheyenne Roundtree and Althea Legaspi. So let's go. The very first sentence of this article tells you a lot. I always like to look at the way they launch it off. Jonathan Majors was a Hollywood star and on the cusp of going supernova. Right there, that says it, doesn't it? Jonathan Majors was a rising star. He was a Hollywood star. Not a rising star, he was a Hollywood star. I'm sorry. He was a Hollywood star. Notice the past tense. No longer a Hollywood star. What is he then? So you got to look closely at what the depictions of the narrative that's being painted to you in the article. Let's keep going. That's only the first sentence. The Last Black Man in San Francisco first brought him critical acclaim. Lovecraft Country, The Harder They Fall, and Creed 3 propelled his popularity, and most recently, every buzz for his upcoming film, Magazine Dreams, and his recurring Kang the Conqueror character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was set to make him a household name. So the brother was doing it. Let's continue. I got no qualms with that. Let's keep going. But lately, most headlines about Majors have been involving a messy domestic violence case in March. In March, Majors was arrested for allegedly attacking a girlfriend, and this week, the New York Post and New York Times both reported that the New York Police Department has alerted officers that there is probable cause to arrest Majors' accuser as well. The criminal case against Majors remains open, and the allegations threaten to upend his career, the first public stand on an otherwise unblemished reputation. In dozens of new interviews with Rolling Stone, however, those who have known Majors over the past decade claim he has a history of abusive behavior. So his accuser, Jonathan Majors' accuser, Grace Jabari, according to the New York Times and the New York Post, alerts officers there is probable cause to arrest her. That's something different. See, there's going to be a lot of innuendos, a lot of hearsay in this article, but that's not hearsay. That is reporting. That's based on what the New York Times and New York Post were able to uncover. That's based on what the NYPD stance on it, where we are with the case. This is important. It's not about feelings right here. It's not about the mood of the room or what someone said or whispers. It's about facts. There is enough evidence to charge Miss Grace or Miss Jabari. Then it goes on to hit you with a whopper at the end. It says, in dozens of new interviews with Rolling Stone, however, those who have known Majors over the past decade claim he has a history of abusive behavior. Okay, let's hear about this abusive behavior that they say, dozens of people say, during this 3-month investigation. Wow, 3 months. Rolling Stone spoke with more than 40 people who have known Majors during his time in graduate school, his Hollywood career, and his romantic relationships. Put a pin in that, because The romantic relationship part is the part that's very interesting. Many describe Majors as being a complicated, unpredictable, and sometimes violent man who could switch from charming to a cold in a flash. All of the sources for this article requested anonymity, citing for fear of career repercussions and personal retribution from Majors. Some claim they were prohibited from speaking. My only response can be that I'm silenced by an NDA he had me sign, says one person who worked with Majors. Okay, we gotta stop here, guys. If someone went back and talked to everyone that you ever knew, 40 people in your life, over the course of the last, 20 years, how many of you would have people giving different variations or different stories about you? I'm sure, depending on what kind of situation you knew them in, what the relationship was, if you were cool or not, if you had an issue or not, if things were great, it would depend on, it would vary on what kind of story they tell you about you. Like what they say about you, what they tell others about you. I mean, everyone's got different opinions. What they're saying here is that they're calling him complicated, unpredictable, and sometimes violent man. He can switch from charming to cold in a flash. Isn't that what all actors need to be able to do? Just saying. Seems a little weird that you don't expect an actor to be able to do that. Actors act. So it's job to switch. It's going to be important for them to be specific and tell us what people deemed him this way. Who said what? Who said he was this way? Was it somebody who grew up with him in the sandbox, or was it somebody that worked with him on a set? Because if you're working with him on a set, he has to be able to switch from charismatic to crazy, violent, or volatile. That's sort of the job requirement. If you work with him in school and you knew him when he was back in acting school or drama school, same deal. But if you were hanging out with him getting a couple beers and he's all moody and all over the place, maybe that would be a different thing. Context matters, and they're not being very specific about this. But hey, it's only paragraph 3. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. But what I want to do is I want to take a second, though, slow down, and take a look at the end of this third paragraph. Some claim they were prohibited from speaking. My only response can be that I am silenced by an NDA he had me sign, says one person who worked with Majors. See, this is where I get a little weird here, because no one makes you sign an NDA. Have you ever signed an NDA? I've signed an NDA before. They didn't make me sign it. They asked me to sign it if I wanted to do business. Get what I'm saying? Like, okay, so if there's somebody who wants to do business with me. They have a product or service that's new to the market. They want privacy. If it doesn't work out between us, they don't want me to be able to go to the competition and give away the idea for their business or trade secrets. That's pretty standard. When I worked as a contractor, same thing. You leave the company, you can't go tomorrow and compete with them, nor can you be hired to another company and just give away all the goodies. No one's making you sign it. You sign it as a condition of employment. It protects them, it protects them. You don't want to sign it, you don't sign it, and you go find another job. I got a problem with the way that they're structuring this. They say he had them sign. He had me sign. So if a person says, I can't talk because I have an NDA, conversation over, right? Because they can't talk. So they are a moot point. You can't make a friend sign an NDA. You can't make a girlfriend sign an NDA unless you reached a settlement agreement. You can't make your cousin sign an NDA. Get what I'm saying? So who are these people that signed NDAs? Their stories suggest a pattern of alleged physical, mental, and emotional abuse that dates back a decade to Major's time at Yale's David Geffen School of Drama, where he was involved in physical altercations, and continued to the sets of his movies and TV shows where production members raised concerns over his treatment of the crew. Wow. Wow, that seems like a very revealing paragraph, but what they really say, hey, the story suggests a pattern. The story suggests a pattern. It's not definitive that their stories mean anything, nor can you hold them, Rolling Stone, to any type of legal stance or legal, to any legality when they make these statements, because they're kind of leaving themselves wiggle room. Rolling Stone is reporting on what these people say, but even they're saying, hey, we can't really tell you what to get out of this other than, I don't know. There could be a pattern of alleged physical, mental, and emotional abuse. Well, let's see. Here's the thing, guys, if there's such a pattern, if he's so physically abusive, where are all the police reports? See, we're going to get into a lot of people's opinions, things that were said, whispers. We all kind of felt this way, but where are police reports? Where are the medical records of abuse, of incident reports? Where's the school records? Where's the footage? What I'm saying is a person who lives a lifestyle that's violent typically leaves more than just conversation in their wake. Everybody I know who was a badass, who beat people up, who fought, who broke the law constantly, who did whatever they did, who committed a bunch of crimes, went to jail at times. What is Jonathan Major's record? He don't got one, because if he had one, you wouldn't be reading this article, because they would start with that. Or that would be at the top of the article. Remember the time he got locked up? Remember the time that he put this person in the hospital? But see, you have none of that. So it's all innuendo, it's all circumstantial, it's all just people talking. And not talking because they went out and wrote a book, not talking because they put out video, not talking because they decided they're so traumatized, but people talking once you contact them and start asking them questions. I'd like to know in what way you ask the questions. Is Jonathan Majors threatening compared to who? Compared to what? Compared to Joe Biden or compared to Mike Tyson? I bet he's not as threatening as Mike Tyson. Right? Compared to Martha Stewart? Or compared to, I don't know, Bruce Lee. I bet he's not as threatening as Bruce Lee. Get where I'm going with this? How'd you ask the question? Jonathan Majors vehemently denies Rolling Stone's false allegations that he physically, verbally, or emotionally abused anyone, let alone any of his past romantic partners. Majors' attorney Dustin A. Poosh wrote in a statement, "These allegations are based entirely on hearsay because neither of the romantic persons referenced were willing to engage with Rolling Stone for the article, demonstrating their outright falsity." Posh added that Majors also denies any allegations of abuse, violence, or intimidation during his time at Yale. It's hard to say that Majors abused people when the people you say he abused are not saying that he abused them. And you're saying they're doing it because they're so intimidated, or at least that's the groundwork you laid, but there's no proof of that. Once again, we wouldn't need people to testify to anything if all we had was police reports, if we had incident reports, if we had medical records of the time he choked somebody out or punched somebody or something. I'm not seeing that. And if they had it, they would have it in this article. Most seriously, more than a dozen sources collectively claim to Rolling Stone that Majors allegedly abused two romantic partners. More than a dozen sources claim that he abused two romantic sources or partners? Okay, one physically, both of them emotionally. It was pervasively known that he was a good actor, and that he would also terrorize the people that he had dated. One of the sources says, more than 12 people say, hey, they claim that Majors abused their friend, whoever that friend is, and one of them is emotionally. And one of the people were abused emotionally and physically. Now we're getting somewhere. But remember, these are allegations. Where's the data? I get it. I get what you're saying. Emotionally abused them. Told them they were ugly. Told them they were fat. Told them that they would never be his wife. Called them names. What did he do to abuse them? What's emotional abuse? Because that could be different things to different people. I'm just saying, I get it. It's that good. But these are the people that were friends of the people that knew his partners that say these things. Not the partners themselves coming forward and saying these things, even though they could be anonymous when they did so. It's getting a little chippy. Majors allegedly strangled one woman when he was dating and was mentally and emotionally abusive with her. None of those sources claim. So 9 people say he mentally and emotionally abused this one woman and he strangled her. Now, if this is true, Jonathan Majors should have been brought up on charges. Wherever he was in his life at that time, whether he was in high school, whether he was in university, whether he was at Yale and drama school, whether he was on a set, because I really don't know, because they haven't narrowed it down. Whenever it was, even if he was in grade school, it doesn't matter. If you strangle someone, did this person call the cops? Did this person report it to anyone? Did these people who are now talking, did they report it to anyone? Is there any proof this happened other than these people talking about what they witnessed at some other time? It's still damning, don't get me wrong, don't get it wrong, because there are people that I'm assuming who don't know each other who are saying, I remember when Jonathan did this to this person that I know. They're not saying how they know it. Did the person tell them or did they witness it? I don't know. This is not good, though. It's not good at all. Let's keep going. It was pervasively known that he was a good actor and that he also would terrorize the people that he had dated. One of those sources say. That's tough. He would terrorize. And they said it was pervasively known, meaning everyone knew, it was common knowledge that Jonathan Majors was a horrible boyfriend, a horrible person to date. If everyone knew that, why did everyone still date him? Why is everyone dating a guy who's so violent that everyone knows? It's common knowledge. So what environment are these people coming from where you go, hey, this person's a woman beater. This person's, abusive. Great. Can I date him? Like, this doesn't make much sense what they're suggesting right here. They're saying that everyone knew how he rolled, and it was negative, and he abused people. He was a terrorist. It says he would terrorize people he dated. Terrorize them. This picture's being painted that is so horrible. It's just one of the worst ways to ever be framed. Someone says you're a terrorist. You know what we need to do with terrorists? We need to get rid of terrorists. Terrorists should not work. They should be jailed, and some say done away with. Terrorist is one of the hardest labels to wear. And you're saying he did that to people. He terrorized people he dated. He made their lives unbearable. I'm trying to understand how you date a person who terrorizes you. When was this? Where was this? And what do you consider terrorized? I'd like to know. Let's keep going. It's getting better. It's heating up now, isn't it? Those who are friends with the women or who were present during the relationship with Majors independently corroborated details of the alleged abuse. Throughout conversations with Rolling Stone, they described feeling alarmed by what they witnessed at the time or what they were told by the women. I get it. So what they're saying is, you were friends with XYZ who dated Majors, right? Yes. Did Majors ever yell at her? So maybe they asked everyone that question, and everyone, or a certain number of those people responded affirmative, yes, he did. Did he ever talk down to her, make her feel small? And they all, he asked them individually, and they answered how they answered. Would that be considered terrorizing? When we say terrorize, we got this picture. I got a picture of some horrible movies that I've seen. Some abusive movies where men are doing things that are just, that they should be jailed for, frankly. Or you mean maybe this guy, like you could terrorize somebody just by talking to him too much. Yeah, man, like interrupting my football game if I'm into football, taking my remote control, taking my control if I'm a, gamer. I don't know, pester me, calling me 100 times a day when I'm out with my friends and you keep on hitting me on my phone. I don't know, checking everything, checking my email accounts, my voicemail accounts. If you did all those things, that could be terrible. That could be a form of terrorizing me, I guess. But is that terrorizing? Or is that being annoying as hell? Is that being a bad person or a bad date or a bad partner? See, like this is all, it's getting a little. Rolling Stones withholding the names of the women and specifics of their relationships, as several sources voiced fear that Majors and his team will retaliate against the women. That leads me to believe these are people that Majors dated in Hollywood. Because if you're just somebody working in an accounting firm in Iowa, how can you hurt my career? You don't have connections in my Iowa accounting firm. I'm working at Price Waterhouse. You can't stop me. I own a couple of franchises. Gosh, man, it escapes me. I own a couple of franchises, submarines franchises. I don't know, Sparrow or Mike's, whatever. Come on now. You're not going to stop me from making sandwiches. What's that place with the sandwiches, with the submarine, the cold cut hoagies or whatever? You're not stopping me from making hoagies. I got a great pizza restaurant going. I got 3 Little Caesars. I'm a regional manager for Little Caesar. My ex is not going to be able to shut that down. So Hollywood's the only place where I think you could kind of hurt somebody's career if you're higher up, if you got connects. Like, in that industry as it pertains to Jonathan Majors. So that would mean it's relatively recent. This is just speculation. I'm just speculating. But it would seem it would have to be somebody from Hollywood. I would think. Gosh, let's keep going. My experience in dealing with him and watching him in relationships with several women is really upsetting. Says one person familiar with at least 2 of Major's relationships. As an outside observer, it made me uncomfortable. Who's this person? You witnessed both relationships, and both relationships made you uncomfortable. And this person's familiar with at least 2 of Major's relationships. Somebody was a bug on the wall, a fly on the wall during these relationships and didn't like the way he treated the ladies. Or these particular ladies. Is this everyone he ever dated? Or is it just these 2 women? I don't know. I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm trying to figure out who this person is. Could this be somebody that used to work with Jonathan Majors? Could this be someone who's known him, an agent, an ex-agent, a bodyguard, or somebody, an assistant, somebody who was around him, who saw him with his ladies, saw him kicking it with these dates, these women that he was dating, who got them, I don't like witnessing what I've been witnessing from this guy. He's a pain in the ass. He's a bad person. He's not a good person. I wouldn't want my sister to date him. That type of thing. Guys, we've all had friends like that who we liked them. They were our boys. We rolled with them. That's my man, but I wouldn't want my girl to, want my girlfriend's sister to date, or I wouldn't want my sister dating him. He's damn sure, I wouldn't want him dating family. Keep that over there, man. Man, I don't even know, I don't even want to be around. I don't want to be around her because I might want to feel like I need to rush her away from this guy. Not that he's physically abusive, but he's just a scumbag. Come on, guys. We know some scumbags. There's some scumbag men. And ladies, I don't know how you feel, but have you ever had a girlfriend who was a scumbag or a bad girlfriend, and their boyfriend was a really nice guy, and you're like, that poor sucker, that poor sap, that poor loser, you're catching all these L's. How many L's are you going to catch, man? I feel bad for him, the way you're doing that guy. I wish you wouldn't do him like that. That's bad. That's how this sounds. All right, let's keep going. Majors was aggressive at work. Most recently on the set of the upcoming film. He pushed somebody on the set. He pushed one person while on set and physically intimidated another while screaming at them, leading to a complaint from producers. See, this I got a problem with. There needs to be more here to make a judgment call about it. Get what I'm saying? It's not good. Producers say a production source with knowledge of the situation claims to Rolling Stone that producers were only aware of one complaint. Only one complaint that was made toward the end of filming, and disputed the person was physically intimidated. So Rolling Stone got a version of events. They talked to the production company or whatever, the source, or, the producers, and they said, hey, I only got one thing on file, and there was no physical intimidation. Now, no physical intimidation. Okay. Keep going. The allegations that Mr. Majors got physical with or physically intimidated anyone on any movie set are downright false, Poosh wrote in the statement to Rolling Stone. Everyone who has worked with Mr. Majors knows that he employs an immersive method acting style. An immersive method acting style. And while that can be misconstrued as rudeness at times, those who know Mr. Majors and work in the industry have attested to his dedication to his craft as well as his kindness. So his lawyer saying, hey man, the guy was doing his job. He was in character. He's being whoever the character made him be, or he had to be in order to play the character the right way. And method acting, that's what a method acting is. Does that mean you get to be a jackass? Did you put hands on people after cut? I don't know. I don't think that's covered. Is this something that probably happens all the time in movies? Well, maybe not all the time. But how strange is this type of activity on a movie set? That someone's in a high intense role who has to go to a certain place in that role in order to make the role authentic. Remember, we're in make-believe world, and you're this make-believe character who has to act a make-believe way. And you got to sell it so well that the people at home suspend reality and believe you're really that crazy person or that role that you're playing. And everyone else is really the people that they're playing. And to do that takes a little bit of something wacky. That's all I'm saying. It's requiring something from you that's different. Definitely different than what you get from a regular person. I mean, if you work at Walmart, you manage Walmart, you don't get this type of leeway. But then you're not acting like an axe murderer or a superhero, or a bad person or fighting demons, or whatever they did in Love Country was crazy, right? So I'm just trying to put things in perspective and not just go with the narrative that's being painted. It's really easy to paint black men particularly as violent. It's not easy at all it's not easy at all to see us as human beings. Not the way the media gets to run with it. And that's what's happening here. But is it warranted? Like, yes, racism exists, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't be wrong. Like, Majors could be wrong here. Majors could have done things he shouldn't have done. Majors could have acted out of line. Majors could have hurt people. Majors could have been intimidating people. But is that the case? These new allegations come against the backdrop of Majors' ensuing case over the recent domestic abuse claims. Last week, a judge ruled the case will go to trial starting August 3rd. Majors' legal team has vehemently denied the women's accusations, and a day after his court hearing, Majors filed his own police complaint against the woman, claiming he was the victim in the domestic dispute. As the New York Times notes, it's not unheard of in domestic violence cases for both parties to be charged. For now, however, the NYPD has confirmed to Rolling Stone the investigation into the initial accuser was ongoing, but no additional arrest has been made. No one's surprised this is coming out, one source says. It always felt like it was a matter of time because his behavior never changed. He's kind of a bad dude, and now it's catching up to him. He's kind of a bad dude. Hey, it's not against the law to be a bad dude. It's not against the law to be a jackass. It's not against the law to have a control streak. It's not against the law to not be the best boyfriend. It is against the law to beat people's ass. It is against the law to lay hands on people. It is against the law to strangle people. It is against the law to threaten people's lives. What did he do? Being a bad dude shouldn't cost you a career. If being a bad dude cost you a career, many of the actors in Hollywood wouldn't have jobs. If being a bad person or being a bad dude was enough to get you locked up, a lot of people, hell, we wouldn't even have room to walk our doggies. There'd be jails, more jails than there are. You think we got mass incarceration now? Just imagine if being a bad dude was a criminal offense. It ain't. As I read this, it's hard for me to suspend reality. This ain't got nothing to do with Grace Jabari. And when did you start looking into this, Rolling Stone? When did your 3-month investigation into Jonathan Majors begin? After it became advantageous for you to do so. Was that after or before you told your reporters, go get me everything you can find on Jonathan Majors? We need a story. Give me a story on this guy. It's got to be something. Tell me I'm wrong. Now it's catching up to him. What's catching up with him? That he wasn't nice? It's not nice to be not nice. But should you lose your career because of it? Or should you go to jail for it? I don't know. There's a lot of not nice people at times. I'm assuming. But let's not give him a pass. If he's not nice, maybe he should lose his career. If you're not nice. Ellen lost her show because she wasn't nice. Right? People lose stuff for being not nice. Through our conversations with more than a dozen sources, Rolling Stone has learned of 2 women Majors allegedly abused, either physically or emotionally. The 2 women declined to comment for this article, with one of the women through a spokesperson citing fear of retribution. So there's been 2 women that you're saying that were emotionally or physically abused. Majors is 33 years old. How many people has he dated? Average guy who's getting around town. Let's say before he hit gold, before Love Country. Love Country come out, what, 2020? I don't know, 2020? So let's go back 3 years ago, back when he was 31, 30. It's 30 years ago. Damn, he's 30, 3 years ago. He's 30 years old. Let's go from the years of 20 to 30. Let's say he, let's say he doesn't have a steady girlfriend. And let's give him turnaround time. Let's say he has one girlfriend every year. That's bullshit, but it gives us something to go on. 10 years, there would at least be 10 women. I think he did a little more getting around than 10 women in 10 years. Can we say 20 women? And I'm trying to, no court case, no lawsuits, not even a misdemeanor, no police reports, no video footage. Remember, we're in the time of everybody's got cameras out. It's people everywhere. If the woman didn't take the footage, someone else would take it. Come on, this is where we live. Can you keep a secret like that? Off social. Where's something? Give me something besides you saying this is what someone said. I don't know why they would lie. I'm not saying that they're lying. I'm just saying there should be so much more evidence considering where we are right now. But 2 women say it was emotional. Only one says physical. Both say emotional and mental, which is horrible stuff, man. Once again, this is horrible if that's true. Not good to do. But if you went up to, I don't know, any producer or any actor in the world, well, let's stick to America. If you went up to any actor in America and you went back and talked to all the women that they dated, I don't know, over the last 20 years, and only one of those women say you ever laid hands on her, and it didn't say try to kill her, say he was abusive, in what way? Was he beating her up? Like, what are you talking about? Did he get in an argument and he pushed her? Or was he, I think he said something about strangled. Okay. Was he grabbing her like this? Or was he trying to kill her, like trying to take her life? Like, I want to understand the context. I'm getting no context. And it doesn't help that woman's not even being interviewed. It's someone else being interviewed for her or not talking at all. So I'm having a problem. It's someone who said they know her, they heard about it or saw it or witnessed something at some point in time. I'm just saying, aggressive, violent bullies tend not to be able to hide that, and we're not talking about just in the marriage. These are just women they dated. He was horrible. He's saying he was horrible with people he dated. Where are all the dates? Where are all the women with all the dates, with all the, all the footage, all the evidence? Where are all the letters? Where are all the emails? Hey, I'm sorry I beat your ass last night. I still love you, Jonathan. Where's that text? Would that be presented during the trial? I don't know. That's why August 3rd, it really starts. You know what I'm saying? Not to defend Jonathan Majors. It's just, I want to put things in their context that Rolling Stone seems not to be willing to do. One woman who dated Majors was strangled and physically and emotionally abused. 9 sources familiar with the relationship claimed. At first, the sources say Majors was romantic with the women before becoming more manipulative and volatile. The situation became really extreme abuse, physically and mentally. One source claims it allegedly escalated to the point of him strangling her. 2 sources claim she tried to leave multiple times and had an exit plan at one point, but remained in the relationship. Until they broke up. Right? One woman who dated Majors was strangled and physically and emotionally abused. If he strangled you, you didn't go to the cops. And I get it, I'm saying, Tim, a lot of women don't go to the cops. Okay. I get that. I understand that totally. Nobody went to the cops ever. And they're not going to the cops now. They didn't even go to Rolling Stone. Somebody they know went to Rolling Stone and reported for them. It's horrible stuff. I want to hold them accountable, but it's not even coming from the person who I need to be holding them accountable for. I get it. This is hard, man. One woman who dated Majors was strangled and physically and emotionally abused. They didn't even say allegedly strangled. Do you have proof of the strangulation? When you say strangle, what do you mean? When you say someone strangled someone, did he try to kill somebody? I don't even know how you strangle someone. Do you mean he grabbed them by the neck at some point? Or do you mean he tried to choke them to death? What are we talking about? There was a Boston Strangler. He killed women. He choked them to death. On the subway train, we had Daniel Penny choked Jordan nearly to death. He passed out. Jonathan Majors is a strong guy. What are you talking about? What was he able to do? What did he do? I'm trying to follow. It's just, this person had an exit plan. The exit worked because they're not together, right? And they're alive and he's alive. So I don't like this image that you're painting of this situation where this person's being so abusive to this woman that this woman's fearing for her life. But there's no police report. There's no incident report. They're not together. He looked fine. I don't see pictures of her nor hear from her. What is up? There is nothing physical about this that took place in the world for anyone to witness. This person says they witnessed it. Why didn't you call the cops? If you saw Jonathan Majors choking, strangling someone, what'd you do? You would think there would be a big fight right there. You and your girlfriend would jump his ass. Since he's strangling her to death. He's trying to kill her, cut off her air supply, trying to knock her out. Like, is that what you're saying? Or is that just the language we're using? This is serious shit. If this is what Jonathan Majors did, he should be in jail. Get where I'm going? He should be in jail for this. This is not something you go, oh, he strangled her last night. No big deal. That's what happens. Majors emotionally abused the second woman who he was dating. I said that. The woman said her relationship with Majors was emotional torture, according to one source. Though the woman told friends at the time Majors was never physically abusive with her, she said there were moments of near violence. What's a near violent? Man, I wish you would have. Oh, man, I wish you, woo, you make me want to, woo. Is that what you mean? Near violence? Where he would get filled with rage. Says there's the woman. The source the woman confided in. Says the source the woman confided in. So much for confiding. Yeah, it's probably best not to confide in this source anymore. This source can't hold water. Once again, we got a volatile situation. Somebody who can't hold their liquor, or somebody who's crazy, somebody off their meds, or somebody just violent nature. We get away from them. We call the cops. Or how bad was it? Just saying, how bad was it if nothing happened? He talked shit, she talked shit. He said things, she said things. And they both went their separate ways. The end. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying it was good. I'm saying we're talking about in his 20s, he got into an argument with a woman. I'm guessing his 20s. They're yelling. Maybe you're saying he was just yelling because you're not saying there was an argument with her saying anything back to him at all, doing anything at all. It's just him being violent. Nothing's going on except him being violent to her, and intimidating her. And we're supposed to believe that. But let's say, okay, and I hate to do this, but I'm going to say, okay, maybe you're right. If that's the case, how serious was it if nobody goes to the hospital, nobody gets hurt, the cops don't get called, at the end of the day, everybody's still fine? I'm having problems. I'm having problems swallowing this. Or is it that Jonathan Majors saw, say, oh, I'm in trouble with Grace Jabari, and his lawyers told him, hey, go, everybody that you dated, you never ever had an issue with, go give him an NDA, give him some money, give him an NDA, and then when people come asking, and if that's the case, that's how it goes in the big world, the big bad world. That's what they do in the big bad world, in the big boys world, the big girls world, the real world. That's how things are handled. I'm not saying it's not true, and I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm saying this is common. And I don't mean a rapper common. I used to love her. Nah, I mean this is regular in that world. It's regular. When people got money, that's what they do. Maybe that's what took place, but I don't know. The woman told the source that Majors would say he needed something to hit or punch. He needed to hit something or punch a wall or something of that nature. That's good. That implies he's not punching you. That also implies maybe you shouldn't be together, which you aren't, which is good because you're not together. Yeah, so you're not together. Something happened at some point that there's no context for. He gets angry, and he says, I need a water punch. And you're saying, oh, my God. Okay, man, I want you to own up to this. Let's be real. Have you ever been mad enough to punch a wall? To some women, that may seem like the craziest thing in the world. The most volatile thing in the world. Women, have you ever thrown anything at any time out of anger? Maybe not at a person, not at him, not at her, not at your kids, but have you ever thrown anything? Ever. That's the same thing as somebody wanting to punch something. But see, when you're a guy, particularly when you're a black guy, that seems like the most violent thing in the world. But it's the same place. It's coming from the same place. That feeling, that emotion, that frustration, that need of release, it's coming from the same locale, no matter who the person is. It's too much for people to handle. Sometimes when people are young, they're in situations that they don't need to be in, that they're not equipped to deal with. And I think that's where a lot of abuse comes with younger people. You're just together, you shouldn't be together, and you're trying to make something work, and you got a lot of stress, a lot going on, you don't know how to handle it, you don't have the words for it, nor the tools to navigate it properly, and you act out, or you do something just trying to will something to work that's not supposed to. I think if people are being honest, they've been in that situation before. And all I'm saying is, if you get past that situation without going to jail, without hurting someone, I would call that a win-win. But not for the purposes of the Rolling Stone article. The Rolling Stone article, that makes you an animal. That makes you a violent streak. That makes you Jonathan Majors, unhinged black man who's a danger to every woman he's known. No one's surprised that this is coming out. It always felt like it was a matter of time because this behavior never changed. No one's surprised. I'm surprised. What's no one? Who is no one? As a part of Majors' legal team's response to Rolling Stone's request for comment on the abuse allegations, his attorney sent 6 character witness statements from women who Majors had dated or was close with. Majors' attorney noted in his statement that Rolling Stone was provided statements from Mr. Majors' actual past romantic partners, attesting to his character and his falsity of the charges. But Rolling Stone purposely ignored those facts and red flags and published the false charges anyway. Okay, because they know what the narrative was that they're publishing. Like, they know the point of view they want their article to take, but they're publishing it now. They just published the other side, which is the lawyer's side. I get what they're saying. Hey, we told you these statements aren't true. Yeah, but we're going to publish them anyway because we believe them. Okay? So as bad as it sounds, I kind of get what they're trying to say here. Well, I get what's happening. Is it a smear? I don't know. It's smear-like. Yeah, it's a smear-like situation. Smearish. But maybe not. Because one person tells you, this is what I saw, and this is what I believe. Another person says, hey, that's not what went down. It went down this way. They got two conflicting stories. We print both of them. In fact, Rolling Stone reached out to all 6 people. They said they never gave Major's team permission to release such statements. Uh-oh. Three of the 6 say, hey, I ain't never say this. Majors is lying. I didn't say he was a good guy. I didn't say he treated his girlfriend good. Who said this? I'm not a character witness for this guy. I ain't gonna lie pants on fire for this guy. I don't know this guy like that. That's what they're saying. So of the 6 women, of the 6 character witnesses, 3 say, don't use my name. Got nothing to do with it. 1 woman, and the 4th woman says, I declined to share the statement, credited to her by Major's team, saying it was pre-written, not truthful, and she never approved of the release. That's 4. And the 5th woman said, 1 did not respond to a request for comment. So of the 6, 5 of them are basically opting out. And 1 said, hey, this was fabricated. The first 3 say they never gave Major's team permission to release such statements. At least 1, and only 1 woman consented to making her statements public. Her name is Haley Carter, a woman who Majors dated from age 13 to 18. Jesus Christ, man, we went all the way back to 13? 13? And he dated her for 5 years? Haley described Majors as a sweet, kind, and gentle. In a message drafted in late March, after 20 years of knowing him, I can tell you who Jonathan is. He did not do these things. He is exactly the opposite of what these allegations say. Jonathan is the most self-controlled, disciplined, well-mannered person I know. We all call him the peacekeeper. He is not violent in any way. It's good to hear those comments, especially when you put him up against the people saying he was horrible. He was torturous. It was like being in a torture chamber being with this guy. Now we got somebody saying, hey, no, it was great. He was fun. He was kind. It was easy going. He was zen. Majors was born in Santa Barbara, California, grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth area, has been open in past interviews about a tumultuous adolescence, frequent moves with his dad, leaving, butting heads with his stepdad, living in his car, and at least 1 suspension after getting into a series of scraps at school, and once putting a knife on classmates. Oh, we're going back to high school. All the way back to high school. Hell, we're going back to the crib. Once again, guys, what would people say about you? Like, what would your life story be? Did you have a tumultuous childhood? Did you ever, leave home and sleep in your car? Mom said you got to be in by 10 and you came home at 11. And she just said, stay out there. So you slept in your car or something? There are people that are really a mess who do things that put them in the paper, who do things that put them in the jail, who do things that leave a mark. Nothing you're saying that Jonathan Majors did left a mark. I'm just saying, guys, people do shit, leave marks. Even sometimes the marks they leave, I'm not so sure about because of our justice system and how it likes to over-incarcerate black folks and love picking us up for everything, and we don't have the best representation. So even when it comes to that, when there's marks, I'm kind of wondering. But you got no marks. You got nothing left. You got no remnants of said such a tumultuous past. He didn't burn down the school. He didn't bring a gun to class. He didn't stab somebody, or it would have been in the paper, or he'd have been expelled, or he'd have been locked up in the juvie. Like, what are we talking about? I remember one time when I was in high school, there was a fight going on, like a couple days earlier, and this one kid got his ass kicked by this other kid, and this one kid who got his ass kicked was pretty popular, and the guy who beat his ass was somebody not so popular, but he was a cool kid, quiet kid from like Jersey, and me and my friend broke the fight up, and later the guy who was getting his ass kicked told everybody we jumped him, but we didn't jump him. We broke the fight up to save him because he was getting his ass kicked. He was getting beat up. So everybody wanted to jump me because they thought I jumped his friend, and I didn't. And I remember having a knife and pulling it out, and I said, y'all think they're going to jump me? Not today. Y'all might jump me, but it ain't going to be today. And I walked through a whole line of them, right through the crowd, and walked my ass right on home. I never stabbed anybody with that knife. I kept it moving, and nobody jumped in my way either. I pulled a knife, but I didn't hurt anybody, and it was to defend myself from a multiple ass whooping with people with Super Tims on. If you don't know what Super Tims are, them big brown mofos with the big soles, and they hurt. I said they hurt. So yeah, I pulled a knife, but is that the same context of really ever knife pull? So when you hear things, when you read these articles, when I'm reading the Rolling Stone article, I'm going, really? Because they don't give you much context. All of a sudden, the story's a lot different. All of a sudden, I'm the peacekeeper, not the knife wielder. Because now you got context. Acting became a refuge and an arena to grapple with and redirect his emotions. The anger came from the inability to articulate my sadness. He explained to Texas Monthly, which is what acting really gave me the ability to articulate with language, with nuance, with emotion what I'm feeling. Majors pursued acting and graduating from the University of North Carolina School of the Arts in Winston-Salem in 2012. He moved to New York and later enrolled in Yale School of Drama in the fall of 2013. Administrators only select around 15 students annually for the extremely selective 3-year program. Wow, so that means he must have been doing something right. Hard to be a total asshole and do something right and be one of 15 people who get into a class. I'm just saying, not saying it's impossible. How much of an asshole was he? Major's presence and the passion he brought, according to a classmate, challenged those in that year to match his fervor, making them all stronger actors. However, it also created a highly competitive atmosphere in what was regarded as a safe space. Growing up playing football, Majors likened being at Yale to that of a sports team. One former classmate says, I heard him say you don't choose your teammates. You don't have to love everybody, but you have to have respect for everybody, they recall. Doesn't sound that bad. Nearly every alumni who spoke to Rolling Stone noted Majors' obvious talent, his dedication, drive, and feeling that he was bound for greater things. His tremendous potential as an individual, combined with his focus and hard work ethic, was something that I expected was going to take him very far. One former schoolmate says, further describing Majors as poised and kind. There's obviously hardworking intensity, and then there's fear-based intensity, explains another former graduate whose time at Yale overlapped with Majors. There's this, don't step out of line with him. Just do what he says sort of thing. There's an energy and a culture around him that he didn't really cross that line that he created. There's a culture around him. We call that somebody you don't mess with. Not no punk ass. Call that masculinity. They now call it toxic masculinity. You know, hey, I ain't no punk. That's what you mean? That bluntness and intensity, one classmate says, could become too much, with Major's behavior allegedly manifesting in the several confrontations and altercations with his peers while he was acting, according to 6 Yale alumni. There was something else there. Things would slip out, and it came from a personal place of truth. He was always working with something. When you're doing a physical scene, all of the physical contact has to be agreed upon, says one schoolmate. Nothing, especially in the pedagogy of the school, is fly off the handle. His behavior was very problematic for his class, another Yale alumni says. A lot of people felt in physical danger around him, and certainly a mentally precarious position because of him. Things reached a point where the Yale administration once sent an email reminder about rehearsal etiquette and violence. One day after Majors was involved in a separate altercation with 2 other students, a former Yale student claims. The 2 students did not reply to requests for comment. One of Major's schoolmates claims Majors struck him while goofing around during a short break during a rehearsal. The men had been playfully wrestling when the former schoolmate, he pulled a fast surprise move on Majors, which seemed to stun him. Majors responded by slapping him across his face. Taken aback, the schoolmate says that he confronted Majors on why he hit him, but Majors allegedly shrugged it off and acted like it wasn't a big deal. He can be very charismatic and really gentlemanlike and sweet, but he could also be really cold, scary, and violent. The schoolmate says he was someone who would use his physicality to intimidate. Okay. The incidents alarmed his peers enough that they voiced their concerns to the administrators several times and told school officials that they felt unsafe around him. Okay. People were telling on him. People were saying, hey, Jonathan's out of control. Come get Jonathan. Did they get him? One complaint stemmed from Majors allegedly telling the woman of the class they didn't match the caliber or tenacity of the men. However, no action was apparently taken. Former Yale graduates claimed that in addition to the students' complaints, professors and the administration were already aware of Majors' disruptiveness in the classroom because instructors saw it firsthand. Yale instructors who were present during the alleged incidents did not respond to requests for comments. A spokesperson for the program declined to comment on any specific allegations about Majors' behavior, but says that Yale is committed to preserving confidentiality and integrity of its complaint process. This commitment helps encourage our community members to participate and is consistent with state and federal privacy laws. Accordingly, we do not comment or even confirm the existence of specific complaints. After graduating from Yale, Majors' career took off. In the span of a decade, he was nominated for an Emmy for his work in HBO's Lovecraft Country, inked a deal with Marvel. It was on his way to heartthrob status as a starring opposite Michael B. Jordan in Creed 3. But his intimidating behavior, sources allege, continue. Hollywood has lauded Majors for his dedication to his roles, with the actor pulling from different method acting techniques to immerse himself into his character. He admitted to taking his commitment to the extreme. After staying in character throughout the preparation and filming, Majors told Men's Health he once took a co-star out on a 1950s-style ice cream date as part of his process and nearly bit off the head of a director who tried to tell Majors to scale back in one scene. Whatever it takes for me, whatever it takes, he said. But those who worked with him say method acting went far beyond what was typical and created an atmosphere where some felt unable to do their jobs out of fear of Majors lashing out at them. On the set of Devotion, a 2022 film inspired by the life of Jesse Brown, the U.S. Navy's first black aviator, the costume department allegedly had issues with Majors, including an instance where he made customers cry on set, according to a production source. Or costumers, I'm sorry, not customers, costumers. So he made the wardrobe department cry. Jesus. Made a whole group of costumers cry? Guess they couldn't just fire him, right? No, they can't. Why? Because he said the clothes suck? Or what did he do? Maybe it's true that Majors is not the nicest guy in the world. Is that possible? Not the most approachable, easy to get along with type people. Doesn't mean he committed DV. It started to become borderline abusive. The production sources say, claiming that a crew member eventually raised concerns to producers about his behavior. It seemed like it was some kind of sick pleasure that he took out of it. Once those girls cried, he did it to people who he could tell would be too afraid to stand up for themselves. Majors did not reply to specific queries about the allegation. In a statement, production company Black Label Media claimed there was no formal complaint filed against Majors, yet did not respond to questions on if there were concerns or issues raised about Majors' behavior and treatment towards production members. Majors' upcoming movie, Magazine Dreams, was being discussed as his Oscar moment, but production sources also described Majors behaving in a way that mirrored the experiences of his Yale schoolmates. Two production members claimed that Majors reacted to them in a physical manner while on set, pushing one person away from him, moving in an intimidating manner toward the other while yelling, which led to a complaint. Other production sources corroborated the separate incidents. So Majors be walking around like he a badass. He be coming at people kind of wrong. Some of his actions are intimidating. He is foul. On the set, doing the job, while in character mode. I'm saying, if you're playing a role, look guys, I know it's going to come off. I know it's coming off like I'm giving this guy all types of breaks. He's at work. His job is not doing what I'm doing. I'm reading the news. I'm commentating the news. I'm analyzing the news. But I'm not pretending to be, nor am I in character or being paid to be, some character who is a ruthless gangster. And if I'm playing a ruthless gangster, I may act a different way, particularly while I'm doing that job. I'm just saying. Are we taking all of this in context? Rolling Stone, you're talking to people about how he acted on the set of a movie where he's being paid to act a certain way. But is it consistent with the character? Was that why he was doing it? Or was it like not consistent with the character? And he was just doing it to do it. I don't know. It's not nice. I'm not saying it's nice. I'm not saying it's cool. I'm not saying I want my kids treated this way. I'm not saying I want my wife treated this way. I'm not saying I would want to treat people this way. I'm saying, where's the context to form an opinion about it? A production source with knowledge of the situation acknowledged that the complaint, but claimed that the incident didn't involve physical contact or intimidation on Major's part. Jonathan was immediately made aware of his complaint and was mortified that he had made someone feel bad. The production source adds that producers feel strongly that we would have heard about any physical inappropriateness. So they're saying, okay, yeah, he did this. We said, hey, man, you're doing too much. People are afraid of you. And Majors was appalled that he made them feel bad. He was mortified. What's the word they use? Is that the word? He was mortified that he had made someone feel that way. He was shocked. He was shocked, like, my God, I can't believe I made you feel that way. The production source adds that producers felt strongly that we would have heard any physical inappropriateness. So if he had touched someone, if he did more than just verbalize it, they say they would know, and they don't know. So I guess they're doubting that it happened that way. I'm saying even if it did, what's that got to do with anything? I'm still trying to figure out what this has to do with domestic violence. What this has to do with, did Jonathan Majors try to kill her? Did he choke her out? Did she put her hands on him? Is it all a fabrication? Should he have lost 5 jobs, $50 million, or whatever it was, because of this? And we didn't even know about this at the time. And these people weren't even talking about this until now. The Rolling Stone contacted these people. And it's not even these people that you're talking to. You're talking to other people that knew the people that you're talking to. But now we're talking about how he acted on a film set or acted in Yale drama school. Okay. Now we're talking to former students and former people that work with him in the production teams. And they're painting a very stark picture of the actor that's not positive at all. And once again, he doesn't sound like a good guy. Doesn't sound like the type of guy you want to hang out with when they get on one. But what is the context that we should take away from this? The Elijah Bynum directed film, which is slated to be released by Searchlight Pictures in December, follows a bodybuilder who is obsessed with becoming a champion, but is overcome with self-resentment and a simmering rage. Let me get this right. He's playing a guy who's horribly, terribly disagreeable to be around. You don't want to be around this guy. He is a pain in the ass. He is volatile. He has self-resentment. He has simmering rage. He's obsessed with becoming a champion. And then he's playing this guy, and you say he might get an Oscar for it, and you're trying to tell me that maybe that was sticking with him while he was playing a role? Well, yeah. Are people really... Folks, you need to understand what being a method actor means.
What defines method acting? Method acting describes and summarizes a range of techniques acting teachers use to encourage their students to inhabit their roles fully and bring their characters to life. Actors who follow the method want to give a performance defined by authenticity, believable realism, and the expression of sincere emotions.
It's understandable that he would embody some of these horrible characteristics that whoever wrote the part, that's what he's doing. He's being that person. Does that make up for everything he does? I don't think it does. Or it could mitigate some of this stuff. I mean, I got a feeling that when Joe Pesci was being Joe Pesci in these movies like Casino, Goodfellas, I got a feeling he was method acting. He had become that character. And in becoming that character, I got a feeling if you remember him on that set, he was acting like that guy. The volatile guy. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's like to be expected. And then later, he's supposed to, after the movie's, done in the can, you might have had an opportunity to come back and say, hey guys, look, while I was on that film, I was a real asshole. While I was on that film, I yelled at you in between takes, or I acted this way when I was going to get my bagel, or when someone was bringing my bagel, or whatever. I'm sorry I did that, but you got to understand, I was that guy. I was had to be horrible. I couldn't come out. I couldn't, cut and be, hey, everybody, how's it going? Hey, what's up, my friend? Yeah, all right, how's the kids? Everything good? Okay, hey, back to what I'm doing. Hey, like, I don't know if that's capable. People are capable of that. I don't know if that works. I never studied to be an actor, but I gotta imagine that it ain't that easy, and that it's easier or more effective, I should say. It's more effective to just stay in the role, because you can't get back to that level of intensity once you get out. You gotta work up to that level of being, I'm guessing. And to be able to do that, not just that day, not just that week, not just that month, for 3 months, 4 months at a time. Folks, Rolling Stone sounds like they're doing a hit job so far. But I'm going to keep going, but I'm really feeling like this does not add up to what they're saying here. What are you getting? What are your thoughts so far? Although multiple sources claim at least one complaint was made to higher-ups, Majors also served as the film's executive producer, and at least two said he felt Bynum wasn't in a position to chastise Majors because of the star power he was bringing to the low-budget independent film. Bynum didn't respond for requests for comment. So Majors is the executive producer of this movie. Is that why all this came out? Was Majors sanctioned to give this movie, to do this movie? Did the powers that be sanction Majors for stepping out on his own, directing his own movie, putting together an independent movie that they say is on the cusp? There may be an Oscar nod. Yo, an Oscar nod. He's swinging for the fences, folks. Majors is putting it all together in this. I'm not saying he's a great guy. I'm not saying he's super nice. Okay? Earth to people. A lot of people that are very successful aren't very nice all the time. They're focused. They're like a laser focus, obsessively focused on the thing. It's nice for them to try to pretend and say, because they want to, be chipper and put this shit on social. But a lot of people are very exact, okay? They're very exact and demanding, and I don't waste my goddamn time. These people, you will find that there are people like that all across the spectrum, not just in Hollywood, not just in music industry, not just in every walk of business. We got people that are very serious and intense, and we got losers. Yeah, we got losers. We got people either serious about life, or you wake up one day and you are 45 and you're in a shit job you hate with kids you don't know and a wife that's sleeping with a guy across town with $2 in the bank and about to be living in your car. And that's what happens. So either in your life, living in the now, directing your life, bout it. Shout out to Master P. And in it to win it. Engaged in the moment, living it, getting it all, squeezing it for every bit of it, and trying to be successful in whatever you're doing, or you're just sleepwalking through life. And people say you're nice, but they're going to treat you very nice because you're broke and you're at the bottom and you're a loser and you're not making it and they're unhappy and they're complaining and you're just in the way. And that is life. And there's mixed signals in all of it. It's hypocritical. It's counterintuitive. People say it could be nice, it could be all these things at one time. It takes time, it takes dedication, it takes wisdom, it takes experience to be both. Because some people are too nice, but that's why they're not successful, because they're not demanding enough to pull the greatness out of others, let alone the greatness out of themselves. Get it? A lot of people say Michael Jordan wasn't nice, he was effective. A lot of people may say Kobe Bryant wasn't nice all the time. He was effective. And that's just naming two basketball players that came off the top of my head. John Brown was an abolitionist. He wasn't very nice. He died for what he wanted, for black people to be free. He died to help free black people. And his sons died for the same cause. But they weren't very nice because they had to fight others and take others' lives in order to achieve that. Was it nice when MLK said, we're coming to get our check? No, but it was powerful enough that it cost him his life to say, we're going to come get our check. Black people want their money. But it was right. It was righteous. And I'm not comparing Jonathan Majors to any of that. I'm talking about where you have to go in your mind and how other people perceive you when you're getting there to achieve that thing. And the people that haven't achieved that thing, who have never had greatness or never achieved that type of level of greatness, I'm not saying I have, man. I've done some great things. I've done some things that weren't so great. But I'm telling you, you got to cut. Sometimes in order to achieve things that are above normal, that are not regular, you have to not be regular. And being and kissing people's ass and making everybody else happy is not the way to be that way or successful to achieve. Get it? So here we go. It says, and him being not only the actor that's being an ass on the set, who's trying to get this and want this to be his role, that he does it, and he's unhappy with it. Maybe he's like, we're not going, we're not taking it there. We gotta take it there. Get in this scene. And he's like doing his thing. He's also the executive producer, so it's out of his pocket. And he's the one you got to complain to? Or bind him is, or whatever. I'm not sure who would you feel to complain to? But back to my other point, and this is interesting, guys. Was Jonathan Majors slated to do this? Like, I hear that there's a price to pay when you jump turn. You're like, is some of this retaliation? I think it was wondering, like, where does this story come from? It didn't seem like all that volatile situation that took place between Majors and his girlfriend. It's like, she's not in a hospital, fake injury or injury that didn't really happen, or I guess saying she broke her hand. Do you see her at a club the same day? Like the night she said it happened. Afterwards, when she said it happened, she's at a club using a cell phone and ordering drinks and partying. Like I'm just saying. But it just seems weird to me that he has this very important film he's working on. They're making him an Oscar nod. It's got the Oscar vibe to it. And then this happens. What we're saying? Put in the comment section if something sounds fishy to you. Look, I don't have evidence. It just sounds weird. It sounds hella suspect. I don't want to just overlook it. I've heard of many different method actors and how their behavior is, but none of them are violent or rude toward their crew. One production member claims, Majors was completely disrespectful and kind of violent toward everybody. It put everyone on a stress level because we can't do our job because we're afraid we're going to get hurt. What? This is not good. This is not good. Major's got a problem. Major has major problems, if this is the case. Doesn't mean he committed DV. Does not mean he committed DV against Grace Jabari. But it does mean dude got issues. Dude needs help. I do got a question if no one's ever been abusive on a set. We all know Harvey Weinstein was abusive on sets. Or after sets. Or before the set. Or to get to the set. Doing the pre-set. At the end of the day, it's just a job. You leave it at the door. Another crew member adds, you don't terrorize people with your character. He's in his character and he's not coming out and he's being a jackass. Okay, there we go, guys. It's a guy being an actor, taking it too far, staying in character, saying this is going to be the big one. I'm on a roll. I'm about to do something I only dreamed about when I was a kid. I'm about here. I can't believe I'm at this point where I get to do this thing. I'm about to do this thing. This has got to be my greatest moment. Anything could happen. This has to be it. What would Chadwick Boseman say if he saw me do this? Don't worry, Denzel, I got us. I'm about to carry the mantle, Sidney Poitier. I'm about to step up my game. Watch me work. Idris Elba. See how I do it. Don Cheadle. Wendell Pierce. I'm gonna put some funk on this. Bill Duke. Danny Glover, I'm about to show out. And he just never got out. He just never stopped being in that space. A third production member explains Major's character in the film was deeply lonely. isolated, hurt, and angry. It's a very hard headspace to be in as an actor, and to do that for months is an immense stress on the psyche, they say. Still, they acknowledge that Majors could be short-tempered and lash out at crew members, but believed it was because he was focused on trying to stay in character. Hopefully, he learned to pause for a second before he lashes out and can be honest about the stresses that a person takes on. Okay, I get it. Guy wants perfection. Guy wants to overperform. Guy has stress, the stress amount that he's undertaking, and not realizing, hey man, that's your stress. You got to carry that, and that's only on you. No one else should have to carry that for you. Lawrence Fishburne, talk to him. That's on you. You got to carry that. No one else has to carry that. The late, great Harry Belafonte. That's on you, my brother. This sounds truthful, at least to the acting part. Now it's not like he's a villain. He's just a horrible black person. And they never said that, but we know what it is. We know black men are not given the same leeway. Come on, man. But this sounds genuine. Another production source says, while Majors had a dark intensity to him on set, they chalked it up to him being in character, saying, to me, I've never seen that energy on set be put towards the crew. I saw it go right into the scenes, which were really dark. Finally, somebody who sees it another way, who sees the guy doing his job to the best of his ability and never done it before. Not this. He's never been 31 or 32, whenever this was, in a film that he's producing. Right? Executive producing. Starring in it. It's supposed to be his Oscar moment. Everything's riding on it. Will his career take off more further? Will he reach Will Smith's status? Or will he crash and fail? Will he become Cuba Gooding Jr.? I love you, Cuba, but you know what I'm saying. This is that moment. Was it too much for him to take? The fallout from the accusations has been swift and substantial. Majors' publicists at the lead company and his management at Entertainment 360 parted ways with the Creed star. Shortly after his arrest, and he was subsequently dropped from a number of high-profile pictures, including an ad for the U.S. Army. Marvel has yet to address plans for upcoming movies in the Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, with Majors expected to reprise his leading role as Kang the Conqueror. Earlier this month, Disney pushed its release to May 2026. A rep from Marvel did not reply to Rolling Stone's requests for comment. According to officials in the criminal case stemming from his arrest in March, Majors inflicted minor injuries to the woman's head and neck and pushed her into the side of a car during a fight. The woman claimed Majors twisted her arm and finger behind her body, causing substantial pain. I further observed Majors strike me with his hand across my right ear, causing substantial pain, and a laceration behind my right ear, according to her complaint. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is withholding the name of the woman because she's considered a victim. Oh, we already know. We already know. Those who knew the women who were allegedly abused acknowledge that many people find Majors magnetic and charming, but they claim it's all a facade supported by his talent. He's an incredible manipulator, one source says. He's a master at knowing what people want to see. And aren't all great actors just that? Isn't that what a great actor does? They give you what you want to see. They give you what you want to see. He is performing. His life, his career is a performance. He is performing. I give you that. I agree with you. What did we take away from this? First of all, that Rolling Stone article is full of a lot of hearsay. Almost 90% of it is hearsay. How other people feel about how he made somebody else feel. That's the definition of hearsay. So that's all a grain of salt. I mean, you need a cup of salt for this. In fact, if you got high cholesterol, you don't need to read this article because you're going to need all the table salt in the cabinet. That being said, do I think there's some truth to it? Yeah, I do. I think there's some truth to it. How he acts on set. I don't think a person who's super friendly or super cool with everybody gets this type of treatment from other people. A person who's super getting along with people, who knows how to be a people person and feels that's important, I don't think that person gets their ass handed to him the way Jonathan Majors has had it handed to him. I just don't think that's what happens. I think people who do well, put a lot of good energy out there, get more of it back. I think if you're playing a role where you're being a jackass, at least once the production wraps, you are man enough to go back to everybody and say, look, man, I was an asshole. But you know I love you. I want to apologize. I couldn't do it during the film. Had to be that guy. But now that we've done this, I'm sorry about this. I wish I could have done it a different way. I have to grow from this experience. I'm sorry I put you in that position. I didn't mean to make you feel this way, that way. I was just carrying through the scene and staying in it. I don't know if this is done routinely on sets, but I got to believe he's not the first person. I can't believe that Robert Downey Jr., I can't believe that Michael McConaughey, what's his name, McConaughey? I don't know his first name. I can't believe that all the other great actors, Al Pacino, I can't believe these people never had similar. And some did, like Val Kilmer. There are rumors and stories of other actors being assholes on sets. There are all types of rumors. So the fact that, Hollywood's not regular life. You're in a pretend world, pretending to be something that you're not, and you're getting paid lots of money to do it, and you want everybody to believe it's real. That's a lot. That's like to do that on a regular basis, you got to be a little bit crazy. Viola, you got to be a little crazy. To be like you being Viola in these roles, to bring such an authenticity to it, it's got to be it's more than just an art. It takes a little bit of being able to be a Sybil, like have multiple personalities, to become multiple people. Did you see Monique play the serial killer lady? You don't do that without being able to go to a place, a horrific, dark, dingy, dirty, grimy place. I saw a movie. My brother told me to watch this movie. Like this mother gets killed, and the mother's like, she just kissed her baby. She didn't even want to go to work. She wanted to stay home with the baby. And they send her off to work, and the bank gets robbed. And she gets shot in the face. The guy that had to shoot mom in the face, it's on Netflix. But the thing is, gosh, you had to do that, and it's not real, but you had to act like it was real. It takes something. The guy who played Jeffrey Dahmer had to embody a level of despicable, grotesque, lack of humanity, such a vile, disgusting, animalistic, cannibalistic such a degenerate scourge on humanity. He had to play that and embody the vile nature of what this guy was, and then try to temper it with a certain bit of a victimhood as well, and vulnerability and detachment and vacantness and abuse that he had to suffer along the way. You're asking a person, being an actor is to ask a person to do the unnatural. It's to do the unnatural. Yeah, it's one thing if you're playing roles that you are, Morgan Freeman. You get to be God and bestow wisdom. It's different when you got to go to dark places. Why do you think so many actors commit suicide or end up hooked on drugs or whatever? It ain't easy to come back from. So that's one part. One part is, hey, some of this is just acting and you're blowing it out of proportion and get off the man's ass. The other part is this. Hey, maybe the guy doesn't play well with others. And maybe you should do a better job at that. Yeah, no, you have to do a better job with that. This is the world of social media. Shit's gonna come out. And you should be a professional. And it's not professional to have people that pissed off at you, they would go talk to Rolling Stone to say how horrible you were 5 years ago. Or 10 years ago. And let's hope you're not that person anymore who you were when, 10 years ago when you were in your 20s in Yale. And I think some of us, or most of us, are not the same person we were at 25 if you are over 35 or 35, okay? Or 33 in his case. As for the relationship stuff, I don't know what to think. Volatile relationships, laying hands on one another. I don't know about the strangle stuff because what's strangling? Like I said, it doesn't make sense for people to keep using the word strangle when nobody's been choked out. Touched around the neck, maybe. Okay, what was the intention? What was happening? What was the context? Yes, it's wrong, but what was happening? Were they arguing? Were they fighting? Were things getting thrown? What was going on? And where's the police reports? Where's the damage reports? Like, I know people with flat tires or busted out car windows, and there's paper records of this stuff. There's a trail. I saw a video where a woman tries to blow her man's car up or set the car on fire with gasoline and had no idea that gasoline explodes. What you want is lighter fluid, dumbass. She almost blew herself up. There's a video of that, not because she took it, because someone else saw it. Get what I'm going at? So some of this stuff, I'm wondering, where's the footage? Somebody's got it in the cloud, something. Give me something to go on here. I'm not seeing it. I'm not hearing it. I'm not saying that he was a great partner. I'm not saying that. But the woman that you're saying he was not a great partner to, I'm not saying that he wasn't. And the ones that are saying emotional abuse, what is that? What is that? Is that I don't like you, I'm gonna leave you, I don't wanna be with you? Is that emotional abuse? Or is it I'm gonna kill you, woman? I'm gonna kill you every time I see you. I'm gonna track you down. No, it's not that, because you didn't say threaten to kill him, threaten to kill her. Broke into her house, stalked her. These are crimes. He was emotionally abusive. It's not a crime. That's a reason to leave a motherfucker. That's a reason to end a relationship. That's a reason not to give him no more cookies. But that is not a reason for you to go to Rolling Stone and talk. And a non-disclosure agreement is something that you sign, not under duress, but you sign it for money. For money. And if you didn't want the money, you wouldn't have signed it. But don't sign an NDA for money and then say, he had me sign it. Like your ass didn't make a decision to sign it. Last but not least. Jonathan Majors will go to trial soon. And we will get an opportunity to actually hear the evidence. We should not be making our minds up based on what the defense, high-paid defense attorneys put out, because there's no context. And their job is to put out whatever they can put out to make Jonathan Majors look innocent. That's their job. We got to see what the charges are. What evidence the prosecution has, and then weigh that to the rebuttals or the explanations and see if the prosecution can, deem him being guilty. But he is innocent until proven guilty. But we should not now already have our minds made up because we don't know anything yet other than a little here, a little there. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not the full story. The full story starts being told August 3rd when the court trial starts, when the trial date starts, when the trial starts. That's when we should really start. Up till now, we're just talking. At this point, we're just having a conversation. Last thing about this, well, not last thing, almost last, I can't guarantee. This is important though, let me say it. Nothing that I read here today has anything, nothing in that Rolling Stone article has anything to do with the court case that's happening August 3rd. These are all surrounding, circumstantial, hearsay stuff. This is all fun to publish stuff. This is not fact. This is all public knowledge for the public to consume type stuff. Whether you find it of value, whether it's just something for you to be entertained, or if you're a conscientious observer, whether you're just advocating for women, or maybe, whatever, right? But the reason why it's out here is entertainment, is just information. It's just to make the public aware of this thing. But the real deal has not started. In this article, by these two people, who I'm not going to say have ulterior motives, because I don't know them, but I will say, seem to be a little biased, seem to be kind of like on the side of throwing him under the bus for the most part. Jonathan Majors, they threw him under the bus in this article. Rolling Stone is left-leaning magazine, and they leaned left. They stayed true to their brand in this article. And this article means nothing when it comes to the truth of what happened back in March between Jonathan Majors and the accuser, Grace Jabari. And that's really all it should be about. Nothing else. But we can have conversations. We can chop it up. But that's all we doing. It's chopping it up and having conversations. All right, guys. My name is Tim Black. I'm glad you joined me. Remember, I'm on Facebook and Twitter. It's Real Tim Black. I'm on Threads as at Tim Black Show. Anything else? I'm on Instagram at Tim Black Show. Anything else? Sunday, meet me Sunday for the Black Table, where Mrs. Black and I will kick it. We'll talk about important things that matter to the Black community, politics, breaking news, culture. We're going to chop it up. Hope you be there for it. See you at 7 p.m. Sunday, Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. for the Black Table. If you was wondering, my name's Tim Black, and this has been another edition of
The Black Table. Tim Black's Black Table streams Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Times. You better tell somebody.